Otto wants the window seat on the train home. He says you can have it after Warsaw. You tell him there will be no Warsaw because the train will run west, and he tells you that geography has never stopped an army timetable before. It is August 1942. Your boots are dry. Your bread is still bread, not a frozen piece counted by 6 hands. The 6th Army is moving east across the Soviet steppe, and the horizon appears to have been built for victory, flat, open, and empty enough for German columns to keep moving. Otto carries a carpenter's pencil behind one ear. He uses it to mark fuel tins, ammunition crates, doors claimed as sleeping quarters, and the days until the next promised leave. On the inside of his paybook, he has drawn 2 squares, 2 windows on the train that will take you home. You argue over which one belongs to you. Before winter ends, the same pencil will be used to write a name on an evacuation tag, and there will not be 2 places left. You are not here by accident. Germany invaded the Soviet Union the year before in a war designed not only to defeat an army, but to seize land, food, and life from the people living on it. German orders stripped Soviet soldiers and civilians of protections your own country expected for its men. Towns behind you have been burned. Prisoners have been starved. Families have disappeared beside roads the army calls secure. You may not have written those orders. You march inside the force carrying them east. In the summer of 1942, the campaign turns toward the Caucasus oil fields and the Volga. Stalingrad matters as industry, transport, and position. Its name makes it matter even more to 2 dictators. On August 23rd, German aircraft strike the city. Smoke rises high enough to stain the sky before you enter it. When your unit reaches the outskirts, Stalingrad is not an open city waiting to be occupied. It is brick dust, burning timber, broken tram lines, civilians searching cellars, and Soviet troops withdrawing into ruins that now protect them. The destruction does not remove the defenders. It removes the streets you expected to use against them. The first building costs half a day. A machine gun fires from a room with no outer wall. Grenades go through a window. Your section crosses a stairwell and discovers the staircase ends above open air. The floor below has collapsed, but Soviet soldiers have cut passages through the basement. Distance loses meaning. The enemy can be across a street, beneath the floor, or behind a wall thin enough to hear breathing through. Otto marks the doorway with his pencil so another German unit will know the rooms have been searched. By evening, firing comes from inside the same building. The mark remains. Control does not. You fight for workshops, embankments, grain silos, apartment blocks, and factory ground. Artillery rearranges yesterday's map. A room can change hands without the building changing hands. German air and armor helped carry the army across continents. Here, a soldier with a grenade behind one wall can stop a company on the other side. You begin measuring progress in windows. 1 window crossed, 1 window held, 1 window from which nobody answers. At night, Otto adds another line to the paybook drawing. Smoke comes through the cellar opening. He says the train needs curtains. You tell him to draw a stove. Neither of you draws the people whose home this was. By November, the Volga is close enough to see in fragments. German reports speak of the city as nearly taken, nearly becomes a place where men die. On November 19th, artillery begins far beyond the streets where you are fighting. It is not aimed at you. The sound comes from the north and west, from the Axis flanks guarding the long route behind 6th Army. A rumor reaches the cellar. The Soviets are attacking the Romanians. Then another, tanks have broken through. Then another, reserves are handling it. For days, every version keeps the road home open. On November 23rd, Soviet spearheads meet near Kulach. The road is not open. The army that fought east to the Volga is now inside a ring. A lieutenant unfolds a map on a crate. His finger searches for German forces beyond the pocket. Someone says the army will break out. Someone says fuel is already being collected. Someone else says the Führer has ordered Stalingrad held and the air support will supply the pocket until relief arrives. Otto taps the 2 windows drawn in his paybook. They know where to find us, he says. The first promise enters the pocket from outside. Stay where you are. Aircraft are coming, tanks are coming, you are getting out. The engines arrive before the food does. Transport aircraft cross the winter sky toward Pit-Omnik and other landing grounds inside the pocket. Men look up from fighting positions. The sound is evidence that Germany still reaches you, but an army consumes more than hope. The surrounded forces need hundreds of tons of food, fuel, ammunition, and medicine each day. Weather closes airfields. Soviet fighters and anti-aircraft guns destroy transports. Ice, distance, maintenance, and limited transport capacity take more. Some days deliveries improve. They never become enough to sustain the trapped force as promised. Rations shrink. The horses begin disappearing. At first, meat means a slaughtered transport animal and a warm pot. Later it means strips cut from a frozen carcass. Bread is weighed. Soup becomes hot water carrying the memory of grain. Men speak slowly because hunger makes every movement expensive. Otto's carpenter's pencil grows shorter. He uses it to divide a bread ration into equal marks before the knife cuts. 4 men watch the blade. No one jokes about windows. In December, a new rumor moves through the pocket. Manstein is coming. German armor has begun. Operation Winter Storm from the southwest. At night, men claim they can hear distant guns. Every flash beyond the horizon becomes a message. The relief force is 30 miles away. 20. 10. The numbers change according to who last spoke to a radio operator. Otto believes the version that places the tanks closest. He cleans his rifle and says you should be ready to move when the order comes. You pack what remains. Ammunition, bread, a blanket stiff with dirt, the paybook with 2 windows. No breakout order reaches you. Hitler will not abandon Stalingrad. 6th Army lacks the fuel and strength it had when the ring first closed. Soviet operations threaten the relief force and the wider German position. On December 23rd, the attempt is called off. The guns move away. Inside the pocket, rumors keep them approaching for another day. Then 2. Then nobody claims to hear them. The second promise dies without entering the city. A shell fragment catches Otto below the knee. It is not the kind of wound that should kill him. In another place, it would mean surgery, bandages, and a story told badly in a railway compartment. Here, the wound becomes a race against infection, cold, and the closing airfields. You drag him to a dressing station crowded into a cellar. Men lie on straw, doors, and pieces of furniture. Some no longer speak. A medical orderly ties a tag to Otto's coat and marks it with a carpenter's pencil. Transport approved. For the first time in weeks, one of the 2 windows in the paybook appears real. At Pit-Omnik, the aircraft does not look large enough to hold the men pressing toward it. Walking wounded lean on one another. Stretcher cases wait in lines that do not remain lines when engines start. Guards try to hold men back. Officers carry papers. Men with no papers climb onto wings and landing gear until they are pulled away. You bring Otto toward the loading point. Ahead, 2 soldiers lift a stretcher. When the crowd surges, one drops his end and runs for the aircraft door. The wounded man rolls into the snow. Nobody stops the engines. Otto looks at the man, then at his own tag. He tears it from his coat. "If I go like that," he says, "you will remember me like that." You call him an idiot. You try to tie the tag back on. He closes his hand around it and will not open his fingers. The aircraft fills. The door closes. For 1 second, you see faces behind the small windows. Then the wheels move and both of you remain in Stalingrad. Pit-Omnik falls on January 16th. The wounded are moved again or left where movement is impossible. Gumrake is lost days later. Aircraft can no longer land inside the pocket. Supplies fall by parachute, drift into Soviet lines, disappear into snow, or arrive in quantities too small to change the arithmetic. The question is no longer who receives the next seat. There are no seats. On January 10th, the Soviets begin Operation Ring. Artillery compresses the pocket. Positions that cost months to take are abandoned in hours. Columns move east through snow and ruins. Wounded men, rear troops, fragments of divisions, horses reduced to bone, vehicles without fuel. Otto can walk only by leaning on you and a stick cut from a broken shovel handle. The order is still to hold. Hold which street is not always clear. Hold for what is no longer explained. On January 26th, Soviet forces split the remaining German pocket. Headquarters becomes rumor. Units become sellers. The 6th Army no longer exists as one fighting body, but pieces of it continue receiving the language of an army. Resist, regroup, hold. The words survive longer than the structure giving them meaning. You wake after an artillery strike with dust in your mouth. The cellar entrance has collapsed inward. Someone has moved your rifle, someone else has taken your blanket. The place beside you is empty. Otto's stick is gone. You search the adjoining rooms. A medic says walking wounded were sent north. A corporal says Soviet troops cut the street during the night. Another man remembers someone matching Otto's description joining a column toward the factory district. No account agrees. On the floor, beneath crushed plaster, you find the paybook. The page with the train is torn across one window. There is no final speech, no body you can identify. In collapsing armies, people disappear between one order and the next. You put the paybook inside your coat and follow men moving south. On January 31st, Field Marshal Friedrich Paulus surrenders with the Southern Pocket. Hitler promoted him the day before, expecting the rank and German military tradition to communicate what Paulus should do instead of surrendering. Paulus does not kill himself. Resistance in the Northern Pocket continues until February 2nd. When your group finally leaves its cellar, the Soviet soldiers waiting outside do not look like the faceless enemy described in German briefings. They look exhausted. Some are young. Some have crossed the ruins of homes the German army came to conquer. You place your rifle in the snow. Surrender does not mean safety. Roughly 91,000 Axis soldiers enter captivity at the end of the battle. Disease, exposure, starvation, forced labor, and the damage already done inside the pocket will kill most before they see Germany again. Only a small fraction eventually return. You do not know those numbers yet. You know only that the road out runs east under guard. Stalingrad becomes a decisive Soviet victory and a symbol of the German war turning west. The 6th Army is destroyed. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers across both sides are killed, wounded, missing, or captured during the wider campaign. Civilians lose homes, families, and lives in a city invaded and burned around them. German memory will often describe Stalingrad as sacrifice and abandonment. Both are real, but incomplete. The men in the pocket were betrayed by impossible promises, an airlift that could not sustain them, relief that could not reach them, and orders that demanded possession of ruins over the lives remaining inside. They were also part of an army waging a war of conquest and annihilation. The suffering that reached them at Stalingrad did not begin there. They had followed it east. Years later, if you are among the few who return, you sit beside a train window. There is no victory parade, no Otto arguing for the better view. You open his paybook to the page where 2 squares once represented home. One window is torn away, the other is only pencil. At the start, who gets out meant which friend would receive a place on an aircraft. Then it meant which soldier would survive, surrender, and captivity. Now it means something harder. A body can leave Stalingrad and still carry the pocket inside it. A nation can mourn its soldiers and still refuse to face what brought them there. Survival is not innocence, and suffering is not absolution. You and Otto argued about the window seat because both of you assumed there would be a train home. Only you get out. And the truth has to come with you.